Hey everyone, and welcome to the Launchpad. I'm Jordan Walker, the digital director here at Greteman Group, and here with me today is Shay Blevins, our digital strategist. We're all here today because back in April, we conducted a survey where we asked the aviation community how they were tapping into the digital space for their sales and marketing efforts. Today's conversation is going to be an overview of those survey results, but it's also going to be a conversation about digital marketing strategy. Before we get too far though, Shay, why don't you give us a breakdown of what that survey entailed?
Yeah, sure. We broke our survey out into the various sections of digital media that are available for marketing strategy, like social media, search engine optimization, and content marketing. Our target audience included the marketing directors, CEOs, business owners, and industry media. And we received 70 completed surveys from those top, executive positions, which makes them quality responses.
If you were one of those 70 responses, thank you so much for taking the time to complete the survey. As we started to analyze the results, we had several aha moments that really led to 5 key topics that we're going to discuss today. Where we're going to begin our conversation is by talking about creative usage in the digital media space, but more specifically, the power of video marketing for our industry.
And we'll talk about tapping into digital advertising, such as social media and digital advertising, to reach your audience effectively.
Our third area of discussion is content marketing. We've all heard it, content is king, and it's the truth. And here in a little bit, we'll tell you why.
Content marketing also fuels search engine optimization, and according to the survey, aviation marketers aren't sure if they're tapping into search appropriately.
Right. Our final topic of discussion, and where we're going to wrap up today, is by talking about measuring marketing impact.
Throughout our conversation today, please feel free to leave us a comment at any time. We have staff available to respond immediately.
Also, this live stream will be available afterward on our YouTube channel, but also at GretemanGroup.com.
All right, we have a lot to cover today. Why don't you get us started?
We do.
Why don't you get us started with our first topic, creative use.
So, one of the first sets of questions that we asked respondents is, what kind of creative types are you using in your digital media mix? We ask this because in advertising and targeting your audience effectively today, we have to reach them in a lot of different ways. It takes about 12 times to reach somebody effectively. So in our experience, what we typically see is that people are using static banner ads. They're easy to create, pretty inexpensive to create, and you can't go too crazy with messaging and visuals. But what we found was that the aviation industry is starting to tap into much more engaging creative. 44% of respondents are using rich media banners, which allows for animation that gives you a couple of headlines, and they're a lot more intriguing to the eye. And slightly more respondents are starting to use video. Still fewer than half, but I was actually surprised by this number.
Well, we know that video or show reels make an impact at trade shows. Your show reel introduces new products, demos your product or service. You can take people on a tour through your aircraft, or add engaging video to a booth space.
Yeah, and it's great that we're now starting to see that video transfer into the digital realm. Following this question, we asked, what creative do you desire to use more moving into 2019? And the results were actually pretty similar. The industry wants to use more engaging creative, especially video. This is great because video is on the rise, and people would rather watch a video online than read a bunch of text. The other thing that video has over any other creative type that we used or that we asked about is the ability to tell a story.
Exactly. But outside of the ability to tell the story, what does video offer?
Video actually offers several measurable benefits. The first is that when you place a video on your website, it automatically helps you increase your organic search traffic. And organic traffic is the best traffic because those are people that are actively searching for what you have to offer. The second thing that it does is that it helps increase the amount of time that people are spending on your website and the amount of pages that they visit, which gives you an opportunity to continue to tell your story and convince them why they should be doing business with you. Because video offers a much more engaged user, that means that they're more likely to convert. And in fact, video has been proven to increase conversions on a website.
In our roles, we're constantly looking for ways to increase leads for our clients. How does video help with that?
Video does. In recent studies, looking at what B2B marketers are doing, it shows that B2B marketers who use video in their complete mix, that's their website, email, social media, and in their offline tactics, it's been shown to increase revenue 49% faster than marketers who don't use it.
So basically we can't afford not to use video.
That's correct. But that's our motivation, right? If you're just starting to scrape the surface on video, let's talk a little bit about how we should activate it. Shay, you mentioned show reels a little bit ago. If we were going to take a show reel we already have and activate it into our other channels, what would be your recommendation to start with?
First, cut it down. Your show reel is 2 to 5 minutes long, and while that's really great to put on your website, if it's engaging, people will watch it. But on social media, you need something shorter, maybe 30 seconds to a minute.
Right, and that brings up a good point. If you're using it in video advertising for like video pre-roll, cut it down even further. 15 seconds is really what you need to increase results.
Okay, so now we have shorter snippets of video.
Right.
Where should we put them?
Everywhere, literally. You're gonna see this slide again later, but the best thing about video is that once you create it, you can use it in so many ways. Add it to your website, optimize it for SEO, put it on all of your social channels, add it to an email. In your next press release, add a link that goes back to that video. And of course, you're going to activate it in your offline tactics too. One area where video isn't tapped into nearly enough though is on social media in this industry. Facebook actually puts more weight toward posts that include a video over text posts and even posts that include a photo. So if you want to increase your engagement on social media, you need to be increasing your video usage.
Yeah, and LinkedIn now lets company pages share video directly, something it hasn't done, and its competition has
Right.
for years. That's how important social media is.
So Shay, you work directly with our clients on creating organic social media strategies. What would be one way that our audience should tap into video on social?
I think live video is going to be much more engaging than your regular marketing videos or your show reels. So, consider your next trade show. Interview people live on the trade show floor. Do a mini press conference through Facebook Live. Instead of releasing show news, announce your show news to your social audience.
That's a really good idea. And reminder, we're only a few months away from NBAA, so right now is the right time to start to plan that strategy. And in fact, right now is the right time to start planning your entire digital marketing strategy. So let's switch gears, move on to the next topic, which happens to be effective digital media strategies.
We learned 2 important things from the survey when it comes to what aviation marketers are doing on digital media. The first is that the aviation industry is spending an average of $5,000 a month in digital marketing, which is a good starting point if you have one target audience you're trying to reach.
That's a really good point, Shay. We live in such a customized and personalized world that if we want to target our audience effectively, we have to speak to each of our target personas individually.
Exactly. Each target persona has a very different online behavior and different challenges. For example, if you're an aircraft broker, you know that the chief pilot and the aircraft owner spend their day very differently. To target both effectively, you need 2 campaigns and 2 budgets.
Right. The aircraft owner, let's say, is a CFO at a Fortune 100 company. He uses his laptop for business, and in between meetings, he's catching up on financial news and Forbes. Whereas the chief pilot is more active on social media. He lives on his mobile device or iPad. He's watching college sports and participating in aviation forums. The demographics, the interests, and the device usage of both of these users are very important when building an online campaign. You can use all of these qualities in order to target your audience more efficiently, which will maximize your budget, but also deliver greater results.
Okay, so let's say that we're targeting the aircraft owner.
Okay.
What do you recommend we do with that $5,000 a month?
You can actually do quite a bit with $5,000, but just like we've all seen, the sales and marketing funnel, we have to build our digital marketing tactics to fit each stage of that funnel. So let's take our awareness tactic. We're gonna take those qualities of the aircraft owner, and let's say he's age 50 plus, he has a 2 to 5 million plus household income, he's the CFO at a Fortune 100 company, he's reading financial news, and we know that he watches professional sports in his spare time. He is on, Facebook catching up with the grandkids too. Using rich media banners or video, we're going to use what's called programmatic advertising. And that means that we're going to take all of these qualities and find where he is online. So if he's reading Forbes on his laptop and he's 50 plus, the CFO, and has the household income that we're looking for, we're gonna make sure that ad gets right in front of him no matter where he is online. For more of our consideration phase, let's layer on a retargeting tactic. This requires adding a little snippet of code to the website or the landing page that you're driving somebody to. And when our target audience lands on that page, the snippet of code is going to collect information and about that user's internet cookies and then follow him for the next 30 days. Retargeting individuals is the way that we try to drive them back. So we don't want to deliver the same message. We're going to go with more of immediate need, like download our aircraft comparison use and assessment information. Now, for our purchase phase, this is our low-hanging fruit. We want these people, and this is really where our industry publications really come into play. So you need to consider booking ads on an aircraft blue book site while people are doing their research about the different specs of the aircraft, because that means that they're looking and researching, and they might be making a decision within the next 3 to 6 months. Another tactic that we can't ignore, though, is engaging paid search advertising. If Bobby CFO is searching for a Cessna CJ4 for sale, and you have that in inventory, we need to capture them and bring them back. These are the individuals who are looking to start a conversation right now. And of course, all of these tactics are measurable. But before we get to that part of today's conversation, let's wrap this topic up first. So Shay, where else should we be advertising?
The second thing we noticed is that the aviation industry uses social media, and the majority of survey respondents believe it can reach their target audience. But they're primarily using social media to build brand awareness. The industry is missing out on an opportunity to generate leads, convert prospects, and recruit.
Yeah, for years it was that marketers had to convince companies that social media was even worth the time, and now we're here, but we're not even really activating it for much. Just because it's social media doesn't mean that you can't reach the C-suite and target lead generating activities.
Yes, actually that's one big misconception about social media, that Facebook and Instagram can't reach decision makers. However, in recent years, the C-suite has been beefing up its social literacy. The important thing to remember is that although we're talking about Facebook and Instagram, those people in the C-suite are people, and they're on those channels.
That's true.
In 2015, a Harvard Business Review article reported that 80% of CEOs from the top 50 companies around the world were engaged online and on social media. That was 3 years ago, and with the pace of digital marketing, that hasn't slowed down.
Right.
I mentioned Facebook and Instagram, but LinkedIn has long been a way to reach those C-suite individuals and decision makers if you need to get your foot in the door.
For those tuning in, we're curious. If you know that your CEO is actively using social media channels, drop it in the comment. What channels are they using? We know that ours does. So our busy executives are on social media. What are some tips that our audience can take to engage this audience?
Well, first we need to understand that for businesses, social media is a pay-to-play space. Only 4% of your audience on any given channel gets to see your organic posts. It's not to say that you have to put dollars behind everything so everybody sees everything, but if you want engagement, you need a budget.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to drive traffic back to your website.
The survey showed that respondents really understood this, and they're dedicating about $100 or $500 a month to social advertising.
Yeah, you know, you can really do a lot with that kind of budget on social media. Per channel, though.
Per channel. That's the key here, per channel. $200 a month on Facebook can go a long way as long as you're targeting correctly and tracking the types of messages that deliver results. However, $200 can go quick on LinkedIn, where there are much more refined audience targets, fewer users, and a long-standing competition in the space.
That's very true. So let's say you put me to the test, so now I'm going to put you to the test.
Fantastic.
Let's say that you have $500 to spend across Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. How should we use it? How should we stretch our budget?
Social channels, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, even Snapchat, they all offer audience targeting. So you know you're getting in front of the people you want to talk to. Likely you know that you can target based on demographics, male, female, age, geographics, where they're located, and interests.
Yeah.
You can also target your prospects and leads directly by uploading your CRM data.
Ooh.
Facebook and LinkedIn especially offer this opportunity where if you upload your customer file or your prospect files, they will match that person to the account on social media. Take it a step further, add the Facebook or LinkedIn retargeting pixel to your website, and you can follow them wherever they go.
That is super cool. Of course, creating organic content shouldn't be ignored, and it is still very important. However, we don't have nearly enough time to get into that today.
Oh no, we could talk about this for hours. If you would like to talk about it for less than hours, drop us a comment in the comment field below. So, we have talked about creative, we have talked about digital advertising, we've talked about marketing tactics, but what exactly are we delivering to our audience?
That's where content marketing comes into play. As we mentioned earlier, content is king. And we're not the only two individuals that believed that. So did our survey respondents. Nearly 60% of our respondents say that they have a content marketing strategy that they are engaging. By the looks of these results, though, it's primarily through the use of press releases and emails and a little bit of social media.
And look how low guest blogs, columns, and a newsroom are engaged.
Right. Content marketing is a crazy buzzword. And in fact, our copywriters here really loathe when we use that word because they equate it to calling wine simply liquid. Of course, we know that doesn't describe our favorite vino. At the root of it all, though, all content marketing is your ability to answer people's questions, educate them through your process, give them tips and tricks or insights on your product or service. It's educational content, not promotional content.
Absolutely. It's about conveying your expertise by making the decision-making process easier. For B2B industries like ours, activating your newsroom with articles and participating in more guest columns or interviews is extremely important. For one, having fresh articles is something people look for on a website and one of the only reasons they come back.
Right. Shay, let's use our aircraft owner again as the example. And what would be some article ideas that we should have on our website to reach that aircraft owner?
Okay. Aircraft owners tend to be business owners and high net worth individuals. One article could focus on balancing lifestyle and business using private air travel.
Yeah.
Another idea, focus on a pain point you know your customer has, traveling private instead of commercial. An iteration of this exists for nearly every business in this industry. But why are you special?
Yeah.
Of course, it doesn't always have to be about you. Try planning your customer's next vacation. And at the end of it, use a book now call to action that links directly to your concierge line. And that should be the first and only time you're mentioned in that piece of content.
Right. There are a couple of hurdles that we typically face when we're talking about content marketing with our clients. The first hurdle that we come across is that, content doesn't generate leads. Au contraire. When we look at the latest marketing statistics of B2B buyers, we see that on average they are performing about 20 hours of research for luxury items or business tools. Furthermore, during that 20 hours, they're reading about 3 to 5 pieces of content. Is that content yours or are you missing out? The second hurdle is that, it's time consuming, and quite frankly, yes it is. If you want to create a really good article that has infographics and great visuals and maybe even a video, you have to have a strategy, but it's worth it. We mentioned this earlier, but again, think of all of the places that you can put this one piece of content.
This fuels your organic and paid social media too. If you have an aircraft comparison or new market data to share, that's definitely worth putting some social advertising dollars behind to get in front of the executive you need. And if you're creating a video or infographics to accompany it, That gives you even more leverage to post that article more than once on your platforms. Freshen up the message, deliver it again.
Right, and of course you can use this material even in your offline tactics. Have it on a one sheet in your booth at NBAA, or use it as talking points in your next presentation. For example, our survey from April has been turned into a few blog articles. On our website. We've generated a press release from it. Here we are today on a live stream with you all, and we're already booking in-person speaking engagements in the future. This was a major time investment. We're not going to sugarcoat it, but when we think of the insights that we're all gaining and the opportunities that we have to engage with our aviation colleagues, it's priceless.
And don't forget, this also boosts your SEO, which happens to be our next topic, so I'm gonna dive right in.
Let's do it.
Keep content marketing top of mind while we talk about SEO. But first we need to talk about what SEO is.
Yes.
Our survey showed us that aviation marketers believe they're activating the power of search, but they're not quite sure what it's doing.
Right.
So what is SEO? A 40,000-foot overview of SEO breaks it into three parts. First, you need to figure out what people are searching for. That's your keyword research, and you need to write content to those keywords. Second, you need to make sure your content is reachable. This doesn't only have to do with search, but also how your website is optimized, not just for keywords, but also for mobility, speed, and user experience.
Right.
Third, you need to distribute your content. SEO is not field of dreams. Search engines crawl quality content that has authority, and authority comes from links back to your website from news organizations and from social shares. Yes, from Facebook click-throughs. You have to get your content out there or no one's going to come and read it.
We don't necessarily have time today to take a major deep dive into SEO. So in our time today, Shay, what would be your top 3 tips for our users to activate SEO?
Content marketing, I think, is important to SEO. So you need to plan your editorial calendar of content with the keywords and target audiences you're going to write to. Next, I don't think you can ignore local SEO. Even if you're a national or international company, Google considers an actual physical location and using a Google My Business page as SEO authority. And then finally, you should do some competitive content analysis using a tool like Moz or SEMrush, or even just Google, so you know what's going on in the industry.
So we've discussed a lot. We've talked about targeting our niche audience through effective strategies. We know the C-suite is on social media, and we understand the need to write content that's educational but searchable. How does SEO impact lead gen?
I'm happy you asked. In our survey, more than half of respondents believe that SEO does impact lead gen, but nearly a third isn't sure if their website is optimized for their keywords. Additionally, we have a lot of respondents who say they aren't sure how much of their website traffic is driven by search, and even more report that it's fewer than 25% of their overall site traffic.
The great thing about organic search is that you're not paying for that traffic. If your website is optimized correctly and you have fresh content that's answering the questions that your users are looking for, then you should be more in this 25 to 50% range. Kudos though to those that responded with 51% or more. We'd love to know what you're doing to beef that up. I think the spoiler alert is that they're writing a lot of content.
Yes, please share. Now, one more eye-opening result we found. Although we had a great deal of people say that they believe SEO impacts lead gen, most aren't sure how many leads are a result of organic search.
This just breaks my data-driven heart. Please, Shay, tell us, how can we find out if SEO is working or not?
Okay, so without needing SEO-specific tools like Moz or SEMrush, and without a deep understanding of how Google Search Console works, look at your organic search traffic in Google Analytics. Check it year over year, check it month to month. Do you see a steady rise? Do you see dips and valleys and spikes? Or do you see a steadfast line? SEO efforts should lead to organic search traffic increases.
Yeah.
Dig deeper into that metric to see what content your website users are looking at and where they land when they reach your website and where they leave. That will tell you what you need to optimize and what's missing from your mix. And then don't forget to follow up with your sales and your customer
Yes,
support team.
this is very
So
important.
important. Does a spike in traffic lead to more phone calls? Do you have more closes on any given day of the week when you see search jump? And speaking of measurement and marketing impact,
Finally, I thought you'd never ask. This is my favorite topic of the day, so buckle up, babies. I think this is all a topic that you've been waiting for too, at least according to the survey. Nearly every person who filled out our survey said that they wanted to improve on analytics and measurement going into 2019. And if, like our respondents, you agree, give yourselves a big pat on the back because it is high time that we started measuring marketing impact. The great thing about what we learned is that respondents are using Google Analytics. They're just not tapping into deeper insights. The not so great thing that we learned, though, is that although they're using Google Analytics, they're not really checking their metrics very often.
it's important to note that anything we've talked about today, in order to understand if it's working, you have to review regularly to see if it's working.
Right. You know, Google Analytics, email marketing, social media insights, they'll all give you, the numbers, but it's up to you to really find the story.
So, how do we get started?
Well, where we really need to start is by developing key performance indicators. And by the looks of our survey, this is a big missing link in our marketing strategies. 60% of our respondents either aren't sure if they're using key performance indicators and if they have them in place, or they just simply don't have them.
Earlier, we talked about building digital advertising tactics that relate back to your sales process. Similarly with KPIs, you need to label these metrics that are most important to each stage of engagement with your customers. So, for example, when looking at the awareness tactic, you're driving traffic back to your website. So the number of people who are on your landing page, where they landed when they got there, and where they exited, those are all very important metrics to look at and indications of whether or not your awareness tactics are working. The consideration phase is a little more in-depth.
Right.
This might be measuring white paper downloads or email list signups. In this stage, it's important to have key KPIs that are the direct action that somebody is taking, because that's what they'll do before they ever pick up the phone.
That's right. So you touched on awareness KPIs, and for those that are using Google Analytics, it's likely that you're looking at some of these metrics already. So let's take a look at an example. In this example, we're looking at a blog that we wrote about using Vimeo and YouTube for business. Over the past year, it's had about 785 views, and people are spending nearly 6 minutes with the content. They're pretty engaged. What we want to do, though, is dive in a little deeper. By using what's called a secondary dimension, you can select user type and see how many people are coming back for a second or third time. In this case, we had 37, but those users stayed with us on our site for nearly 15 minutes. If we're seeing users stick around on our website for that long, then we want to answer a few more questions. What other pages are they visiting? Are they going to our pre-qualifying form or our contact form? Do we see them clicking on our phone number from a mobile device to call us directly? As Shay mentioned earlier, having those offline conversations about sales calls are just as important as your online metrics. For Greteman Group, since we really started focusing on our search engine optimization and increasing our thought leadership, nearly every inbound call that we receive is as a result of Google search.
Just by knowing your benchmarks and asking the right questions, you can learn a lot from basic analytics about whether your campaigns are working or not. What advanced tactics and techniques could we be looking at?
The first advanced technique that I would recommend is starting to add tracking parameters to your URLs. I'll admit this really isn't an advanced tactic, but it's kind of surprising how many aviation marketers aren't tracking their URLs at all.
Well, should we walk through an example?
Let's do. So let's use our blog articles as the example.
Our primary goal is to generate leads. However, our blog articles are helping us build awareness in the research phase. So our KPI here is generating traffic to our website and then keeping the traffic there.
Right, and once we're finished with our article and it's posted, we're going to launch that across all of our social media channels, both organically and putting some paid advertising behind that.
The next thing we do is build the tracking parameters in Google's URL builder, which you can Google to find. It's the first
Right.
thing.
Once we're here, we have to start to enter in the information. This is going to build our tracking URL. So first we enter the URL. Then we add the channel that we're posting it to, such as Facebook. We'll note whether it's a paid or organic post. And then we'll type in the content. If we're using a particular message, or if we want to see the difference between how a video post versus a static image post performs, this parameter will help us understand that. And then finally, our campaign is blog. Now we have a URL that we can shorten and use on that particular channel. You'll want to do this for every channel. So if on every social channel, do this for every social channel. Once you have your bundle of URLs, you can then activate them. And then when people click on it, that will be recorded in Google Analytics.
So after all of this is said and done, what are the results?
So what you can see is how much traffic are as a result to posting that on each channel within the Campaigns tab. Here, we see blog as our campaign. When we click into that, we see how many total visits we've had from which channels they came from. This gives us an idea of which channels drive the most traffic, and then we can break it down further by organic or paid, or what kind of ad content that we're using. Now, the second most advanced technique that I would really recommend is to add event tracking to your website. You have to use Google Tag Manager for this and a little bit of programming know-how. But with event tracking, you can track things like how many people have pushed a play button to that video on your site, who is actually clicking the submit button on a contact form. On our website, we have event tracking on all of our contact forms and our homepage video button. Using our pre-qualifying form as the example here, what we're really interested in knowing is not only how many people visit this page and how many people send in a form, but we want to know where we're losing them in between the process. So in Google Tag Manager, we've applied what are called event labels to each question on this form. And when we review that data, we can see when we're losing people. So let's say that 50 people started out with the form, but only 5 submitted. At which question do we lose them? Using event tracking in this nature will help you understand how your visitors are using your website and whether there are optimizations needed to increase your prospects or increase your overall results. The key takeaway here is that if you set up your campaign and your landing page for measurement success from the very beginning, you'll gain insights that'll help you optimize your campaigns correctly. And ultimately, because you can track lead potential, it'll help you justify marketing spend.
These insights will help you create better content, target your advertising better, optimize your website for better user experience, and continue to increase results.
Absolutely. All right. We talked about a lot today. We covered video, effective digital marketing strategies, content marketing, SEO, and analytics.
We hope that what you take away from today is that the aviation industry is not behind. We're about to round the curve.
And as you prepare to dominate the digital space, just remember a few things. As you're planning your campaign, develop key performance indicators, know your target audience.
And based on that target audience, create content that's most meaningful for them. What's going to get them through your sales process?
Distribute your content and target effectively to not only maximize your budget, but deliver greater results. And utilize tactics that cover the whole sales funnel.
And then measure and repeat.
All right, everyone, that concludes our time today. We are so happy that you joined us. We'll stick around for just a little bit longer to answer any questions that you might have.
And just know that our future live streams are going to be significantly shorter, like maybe 15 minutes. But we'd be interested in knowing what you'd like to talk about. So drop us a comment or tweet us any of your ideas.
All right, we've taken more than enough of your time today, so we'll let you get back to your busy schedules and we'll talk to you soon.
Signing off.